Remasters have become an accepted part of video games in recent years. Older games are given a fresh coat of paint and sometimes even gameplay tweaks and then released on modern systems. This year alone has seen some pretty big remasters, including Bioshock, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. But let me ask you a question. Can remasters change too much? Because the reality is that these remasters aren't the same game you played all those years ago. They feature different textures, employ modern-day tech that simply wasn't possible back then. These aren't upscale transfers of a VHS to Blu-ray, these are Star Wars Special Editions. So what happens when these updated versions alter too much of the original art style and gameplay tweaks that fundamentally make the game different? The Bioshock Remaster has been panned by fans for numerous reasons, including limited graphic options, change to art, missing audio, and somehow being even more buggy than the original PC port. But I want to focus on the change in art because Bioshock's art style is probably its most recognizable aspect and core to its identity. The changes made in the remaster are pretty subtle and the average person will probably not even notice them. Things like added seaweed in the bathysphere ride. This statue of Andrew Ryan has been remodeled. That red carpet has been removed, and for some reason the floor tiles in this room have been rotated. The lighting is different in places, and the textures are less wet, which is to say they are no longer glossy, and that feeling of being in a damp city at the bottom of the ocean is somewhat diminished. And the truth is, a lot of people will not even notice or care about these small changes, but for some, these details are important because you're playing off of people's nostalgia. And odd changes like the removal of this carpet for seemingly no reason other than to just make it different feels pointless. It's like when George Lucas added this rock in front of R2-D2. It doesn't ruin the movie or anything, but just why? But maybe carpet changes and not wet textures feels too nitpicky for you. How about more obvious and dramatic changes like the iOS remake of Final Fantasy VI? For reference, here is the original Final Fantasy VI for the Super Nintendo. Now for the mobile version, they stretched the image, then they took the backgrounds and appear to have traced them over. The character sprites are then completely replaced. Everything is given this weird blurry smudgy effect. And then the text box has been replaced with modern UI, font, and a detailed character portrait. The final effect is a combination of disparate styles that lacks the cohesiveness of that original pixel art. Rather than rebuild the whole game with a new artistic vision, we get this Frankenstein Photoshop, which mistreats the original art and the artist who made it. But you won't just see the difference in the visuals, sometimes remasters add gameplay changes as well, which makes sense. Controls and certain mechanics can quickly become outdated in the fast-moving world of video games, so wanting to freshen them up for modern audiences can be a good idea. Nintendo's been doing this with all of their remasters for the 3D Zelda games, addressing complaints with the originals and fixing them where they can. Stuff like adding the fast sail in Wind Waker HD to cut down on long sailing time, or changing the Song of Double Time in Majora's Mask 3DS, which lets you skip to any hour of the day instead of the nearest half day. These design changes help remove a lot of the tedium from these games. And all of this is fantastic, but we also need to be careful sometimes in what we change. A video game and its mechanics are tied to each other, and it's possible to unintentionally alter the experience too much. Such is the case with Doom 3's Remaster BFG Edition. Doom 3 has a controversial flashlight mechanic, because you could not use it and hold a weapon at the same time. This irked a lot of players, leading to the creation of the infamous duct tape mod. So when the BFG edition came around, it made the bold move of making this mod official, removing the original flashlight mechanic from the game entirely. It wasn't even available as a menu option. And this is a problem, because even if you didn't like it, Doom 3 was designed around that original flashlight. Every room was a potential for a scare, and the comfort you would get from being able to see with the flashlight came at the cost of being able to shoot. Taking that away removes a large part of the tension and suspense that Doom 3 creates. It makes the game worse. And while Doom 3 hasn't aged terribly well, the flashlight is still a unique idea that you don't see replicated in other games. It's a concept wholly original to Doom 3, and they removed it. But that's okay, because we can still load up and enjoy original Doom 3. Well, that almost wasn't the case. Back when Doom 3 BFG Edition came out, original Doom 3 and its expansion were removed from the Steam store. No official reason was ever said for why this happened, but if you want to put on your cynic hat, it could have been because you could just buy the original game cheaper and then recreate all of BFG's improvements with mods. The original game came back to the store a month later, allowing consumers the choice in which version to buy, but this isn't always the case. If you want to play the horror classics Silent Hill 2 and 3, which you should, your only choice on modern systems is to buy the HD remasters, which have been heavily criticized as rush port jobs. That iOS version of Final Fantasy VI, that's the version that got ported to Steam. And this is becoming a real issue with games on digital stores. Publishers seem interested in only having one version of their game on a storefront, so if multiple versions exist, they tend to pick the most recent version. A perfect example of this is the original Resident Evil. Resident Evil 1 has numerous ports and updates over the years, and even a full-on, excellent remake. But if you still want to play the PS1 classic, it's available digitally on the PlayStation Store, except that's actually not the original release of the game. It's the Resident Evil Director's Cut DualShock version, which was released over a year after the original game and features added content such as Arranged Mode, which swaps around all the puzzle items. It's certainly the most feature-rich version, which is probably why it's the one on the store, but REDCDSV also features a completely different soundtrack from the original, one that is worse. But because this is the only version that got picked to be preserved digitally, that original soundtrack will eventually be lost to time, and this will be replaced with this. More so than any other media, games change, especially in today's era of updates and patches. It's impossible for someone starting Destiny today to be able to play and experience the original vanilla release from 2014. It's okay and even important for games to change and for devs to be allowed to make those changes. But it's also important to respect the original versions of these games and give players choices in the versions they can play. When the original System Shock was finally available digitally, developer Night Dive Studios put out the Enhanced Edition, which updated the graphics and improved the controls, a welcome addition because those original controls were garbage. But it also comes with the classic version of the game for those that want to experience it. And then there are games that allow you to switch between original and updated controls, audio, and graphics in the games themselves. Games like the Halo Anniversaries and the LucasArts adventure game Remasters. You press a button and suddenly you're swapping between 10 years of video game progress. Apart from it just being a really cool gimmick, it acts as a historical showcase. And that's what these remasters should be. Celebrations of these games and the time and history that comes with them, which also means being willing to show the flaws, rather than sweep them under the rug. I want remasters to be the Blade Runner box set that comes with all 5 cuts, even if I will never watch the theatrical version. Because preserving and respecting games is important, and we could be doing a lot better job at it.